Hi guys, Jane here, and today I want to do a quick video, hopefully quick, about how I rate books. So Goodreads and Amazon for the most part have up to 5 stars, and I generally rate using whole numbers, although there are times that I go in between, and if I give a book like a 2.5, I'll have to decide if it was closer to a 2 or closer to a 3. But in general, here's how I decide on what I'm rating things so that when you watch my book reviews, you'll have a better idea of what I'm looking for. So let's start with what a 3-star review is to me. A 3-star book is a book that is pretty average. I enjoyed it. I didn't necessarily see any major flaws in it, but it wasn't amazing. It wasn't something I'm going to remember in a year. It's not something that makes me go out and grab every book by that author. It's an okay read. It was kind of meh. It was there, I read it, I had fun, but nothing stood out as extra special about that read. It was fine. It was just fine. So the vast majority of books I rate do get a 3-star because the vast majority of books I rate deserve a 3-star. And part of that is just what I read. I read a lot of things like Harlequin romances. Most of them, they're fine. They're a fun little read. They don't stand out. They're not astounding. They're not amazing. They're okay. Cozy mysteries. There's a couple mystery writers I love. There's a couple that I like a lot less, but most of them are okay. And I will say, even if I didn't necessarily enjoy a book, but I understand why people do and it's well written and it just isn't for me, I'll often give it a 3-star. If, again, I don't think it's a problem with the book, it's just a problem with my compatibility with the book. I'll still often give it a 3-star, even if I didn't love it, even if I kind of hated it, but it was still well written and just, okay or less than okay, but that's me and I understand why. So let's go downward. A 2-star. A 2-star for me is a book, and these are really rare for me to give, honestly, because they are things where I see real big fundamental problems in the book. This book isn't just okay. It has flaws that make it so I really didn't enjoy it. And it's not like I didn't enjoy it. It was like there are fundamental things wrong with this book that make it so I couldn't enjoy it. And I can see other people feeling that way too. This is not going to be things like I didn't agree with the content, usually. Unless it can be how something is presented. A lot of times it's presentation, it's writing stuff. How the characters were presented, if they were unlikable, if the content was extremely graphic for what I was expecting. Anything like that can turn a book into a 2 if it seems really disproportionate to the story that seems to be told. And again, I'm pretty rare to give 2s. Let's go to a 1. I don't know that I've ever given a 1 on something that I felt was reasonably readable. So what does that mean to me? To me, reasonably readable means there's a cohesive plot that makes relative sense. There are some kind of characters that have some kind of personality and development. And, there's not excessive grammar, spelling, punctuation mistakes. I'm pretty lenient about things. And I don't know that I've given any. There's maybe been a couple books that look like first drafts that I read on my Kindle. Those that I've given, 1 star to. But it is super, super rare because if a book has any qualities that I think, okay, this is not terrible, maybe it's got some problems, but it's not terrible, then it's probably a 2. A 1 is something that I consider basically unreadable and don't think most people would be able to read because of huge, huge flaws. A plot that doesn't make sense, characters that are not developed and horrible and stupid and do dumb things, a book that just is all over the place and just, yeah, it would have to be bad for a 1 star. You're not hardly ever going to get a 1 star rating for me. Okay, so let's go back up the rating scale. So we know what my worst is. Let's do 5 now. Let's do the other extreme. What is 5? What is amazing? To me, this is a book that really stands out, that is super enjoyable to read, that I really love almost every aspect of it, that I have very few complaints about. And this is the kind of book that after I read it, I'm going to tell people about. I want everybody in the world to read this book. I want to tell people, no, this is the book. I'm going to shout it out. Hey, I read this. It was amazing. I highly recommend it. And I'll probably be recommending it in 2 to 3 years. I might reread this book. It might become one of my favorites. This is a really strong, I don't give a ton of 5s. I do give some. But a 5 for me is I really, really, really enjoyed this book. This book in some way really, truly blew me away, stood out. The last one we're going to go over is 4. And I do give quite a few 4s. So for me, if a book is above average, it's more enjoyable than usual, it does certain things better, and I would probably recommend it to other people. I might reread it. That's kind of what a 4 is for me. It's definitely above average. It's definitely better than a lot of the other books I've read. But for whatever reason, it's not blow me out of the water, this is the most amazing book ever. I give quite a lot of 3s and 4s, not very many 2s, almost no 1s, and not too many 5s, generally. But I also tend to read a lot of books that I feel like I'm going to enjoy going in, and if a book is really awful, I tend to DNF it instead of continuing a book that I'm hating. I don't have enough time and I have too many books to do that. So yeah, I wanted to explain my rating scale, so if anybody has questions when they see like a ton of 3s and a ton of 4s, what does all that mean and what am I going by? Enjoyment and structure for the most part. I have to enjoy a book for it to be more than a 3, like really enjoy it, and there has to be something that stands out usually in the way it's written for me to be like, okay, that is really a fun, above average read, and it's worth a 4 star. I do recommend, though, everybody try, if you can, to rate books and to review books, because authors love it and readers love it. And it's so helpful as a writer to get people's feedback, even if it's a 3 star, even if you think my book is average, tell me why. What didn't you like? What didn't work? So that the next book I write, I can do better. Because if there's 10 people saying your females are weak, which they have in my world, I can work harder to make them strong. Because a lot of times we don't know our own failings as writers. And we can look for those things and say, oh, the audience that I'm targeting, the people who are reading my book, this is what isn't working for them. I can make my next book better by pushing this to the forefront a little bit more. I may think I'm creating strong female characters, but that's not how they're coming off. Now, if I made the character weak on purpose, that's different. But if I thought I was making a strong female character and she didn't come off that way, that's a problem. So yeah, leave reviews, leave ratings, help your writers write better books, and help people figure out what books to read. Because I know I'm not highly influenced by star ratings, but if I'm 50-50 on a book, I might look at that. Like, if it's a book that I know the plot sounds amazing, I really am excited about, I don't care what the star rating is. But if it's a book I'm kind of on the fence about, a star rating will matter. And for me, as long as it's like a 3 or above, I'll probably read it anyway. But, you know, helps other readers out in the world. All right, guys, like and subscribe buttons are below. Feel free to comment. Tell me how you rate books and if you think my rating scale is good, bad, in between, whatever you want to say to me. See you next time. Bye.